Recording in progress. Well,
Yeah,
let's just get right down to it.
got it.
First of all, Oliver Jarvis, where are you from?
I'm from the UK, Cambridge in the UK.
Tom Blomqvist, where are you from?
Well, actually, I was born also in Cambridge in the UK, but I grew up in New Zealand I lived from New Zealand from 6 years old till 15.
Okay, both answers to those questions were wrong. You guys are from Etna, Pataskala, Ohio, at least this weekend, correct?
Yes, very much true.
You guys are mercenaries. You've been hired by the Mike Shank Army to take care of business at Mid Ohio, correct?
Sounds about right.
Hey, seriously,
We got
how much of a
one job only.
go ahead? Yeah, but what kind of an emphasis, one at a time maybe? What kind of emphasis, starting with Tom? What kind of emphasis does Mike put on this race that you can tell? I mean, does he? I mean, obviously, you drive your butt off every time you get in the car, so you can't drive any harder, right? But what is the emphasis, I guess, for this quote hometown race end quote?
Well, to be honest, obviously it's a home race, but it's no less or no more important than any other race. So
yeah,
boring answer, but the matter of fact, that is the truth. We come into this race in a good position in the championship. We've had some good results, some consistent results. Obviously, that makes us lead the thing. And off the back of Laguna, the car's been getting stronger and stronger, we feel. So obviously the goal this weekend is to try and win the race. We think, it's a track that is also well suited to our package, but we know it's going to be super competitive because, the Cadillacs have closed the gap at some of the, let's say, Acura tracks.
Yeah.
So we don't expect it to be easy at all. We think it's going to be actually really tough, a bit hard, definitely a lot harder than Laguna. Nonetheless, the goal is to win the thing. So it doesn't really change anything, to be honest. There's no point putting extra pressure on ourselves just because it's a home race for the team. So we're not really changing our perspective, or the ambition remains the same.
I know you're not. I'm just playing along with the storyline. You see what I'm saying? Hey, Oliver, move over toward Tom a little bit. I don't mean you guys have to share the same cockpit.
I squeezed out while he was talking.
Yeah. Hey, real quick though, explain to people, you win the Daytona 24-hour again for the team, and you're on a high after that. But to find what this race car is all about this year and stuff, has it been a little bit of a challenge? I mean, obviously y'all are coming off a really good result, but I guess, how close are y'all to maximizing this race car, do you think?
It's definitely it's not an easy race car. I think, the working window is quite small. So, you have to make sure that you get the car right. It's got a unique way of driving it. But when it does work, it's one hell of a race car. We showed in Laguna with a 1-2. But it's about, maximizing the package we have. And it's very strong in the high speed. It's got a lot of downforce. There's areas it's maybe not quite as strong as the Caddy. And that's why you see a difference from track to track. There's very much been discussions that Laguna and Mid-Ohio are Acura tracks. And so certainly Sebring, Detroit, Long Beach are more Caddy tracks. And that's just the way the tracks suit the characteristics of each car.
Yeah, explain to that. Well, what is it about Laguna and Mid-Ohio are pretty tight? They're pretty quick. I mean, in other words, the lap goes by pretty fast and stuff. What makes it an Acura track, from your opinion?
I think it's the high-speed flowing nature of the circuit. You get somewhere, it's also flat.
Yeah.
Sebring's very bumpy. It's very dependent on traction. The street circuits are the same, very bumpy, very aggressive. And we feel the Acura works best when it's on a flat flowing surface. So Road America, Watkins Glen, hopefully Mosport, these are tracks that should play to the strengths of our car.
Hey, Tom, what's it like in this car? Explain to people what it's like in this car. In other words, Oliver just talked about the small window y'all have. It looks like, from a great setup to maybe not. But what is it like in this car when it's on? You know what I mean? Like at Laguna, what is it like when this car is like, at peace with the track?
Yeah, you definitely feel it behind the wheel. If we look at Sebring, we really struggled. We didn't have a competitive package. We struggled a lot there.
Let me interrupt you though. Let me interrupt you real quick. Like at Sebring though, are you, a lot of people I think would like to know what it's like in the cockpit, but are you trying to dodge the bumps a little bit? Or are you trying to find, you know what I mean? Is it always an exercise in trying to find the smoothest way around it? I mean, explain what you go through, I guess, in the cockpit there.
Yeah, I mean, you have to find the optimal line, but at Sebring, you can't avoid the bumps. So we're not necessarily trying to drive around the bumps if it doesn't make sense in terms of
Gotcha.
actual overall lap time. For example, the last corner, it's better to kind of, there's quite a big bump somewhere in the middle there. Sometimes you find it, you try to dodge it.
Yeah.
But you have to, it's all about making the car as compliant as possible so it's a big trade-off in Sebring. You have to obviously make the car compliant, but you can't give it up too much so that you compromise your aero platform. So it's very difficult to find the right sweet spot with the car around Sebring.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Mid-Ohio. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, coming back to your question, obviously Ollie mentioned our car suits smooth, fast-flowing tracks. We can get the ride heights low. We can generate the downforce. That's where the strength of our car is. So when we get it in the window, yeah, you just know, the front is a lot sharper. You can just carry more speed, a lot more minimum speeds. You're not having to wait on the front axle, and the rear's following it, right? So yeah, you definitely, when it's on. The thing's just a lot more lively. It feels almost like you've gone from a heavy load of fuel to a light load of fuel. That's, when the tires are really switched on and the car's switched on, that's kind of what it feels like. Everything just becomes a lot sharper, a lot less lazy. So hopefully we're aiming for the same this weekend.
I was going to say, Oliver, what is the turn? And I mean, I know, it's a distinctive road course. I'm talking about Mid-Ohio, but what is that turn you have to get right to have a shot at that optimal lap at Mid-Ohio? Obviously turn one sets up, is the first one, but going under that bridge there, that sweeper, I would just think that might be it, but I may be wrong. What is that turn where if you don't hit it right, you're not going to have that lap, no matter what you do the next ones?
I mean, they're all crucial, but I have to say, coming down the back straight, you got downhill braking and you've got a quick right. And in particular that, if you don't get that right, or you get offline, you get out of shape, you go straight from that into a left, yeah. right, left, and that's a flowing section of the track. And it's one of those, when you get the first part wrong, it affects the rest of the next 4 or 5 corners. So for me, that's a really crucial bit, that middle sector, and it all, one leads into the other. So, if you have a slide in one, it puts you out of position for the next one. And that time loss just multiplies as you go through the next 3 or 4 corners. So whilst turn one's that quick, that's the corner drivers like, really push the car. For me, it's that second section of the circuit that's crucial for lap time.
Tom, Bobby Rao once took me on some laps around there, and it was a two-seater car. It was a Chevy Concealer way back when, and pretty high horsepower. I think we hit like 160 down the back straight, but we got into that little, right, left, up over the hump, right, go down right, and you go up over another hump, go to the right. And I turned to him after we got done. I said, now I know why you guys do this stuff, because this was a ground effects car and you felt like you were on a roller coaster. But what is it like? Explain to folks what it's like going through that section at Mid-Ohio. I mean, you're working, it's your office, but sometimes it's got to be a little bit of a fun factor, doesn't it?
No, 100%. Like, you hear a lot from drivers, right? That, they like some circuits or, so it's, we don't, obviously the goal is to get the most out of the car and, regardless of the track and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, of course, we're going to prefer some tracks over others. And generally that comes from, if a type of corner or section of corners that are enjoyable. And normally, that's fast flowing sections, not where you have to slow the car tediously. When the corners are so slow, okay, it's super important for lap time to be efficient in these corners, but they're never that enjoyable because the car never handles good. That's not the strength of a car like this that is downforce orientated. It likes fast corners, flowing corners. So at Mid-Ohio, that back section, it plays to the strengths of the car, and those are the sorts of corners and complex of corners that are enjoyable to drive. So yeah, if you look at Watkins Glen, right, there's another big track that many drivers like because it's fast, it's flowing, a lot of grit. Like, we like to feel like we're going fast, right?
Yeah.
That's where, the adrenaline, that's where the thrill is. That's where you feel like you're trying to, that's where you feel like you're getting paid because, not everyone can do that stuff, right? Even though the slow corners are where you make the difference in lap time and stuff generally, but they're not as enjoyable, at least for me. So we definitely have tracks and types of corners that are a lot more enjoyable to drive than other sections.
Yeah, you like that pucker factor a little bit, right? I mean, for one of another term, just the, feel like you're going through there faster than anybody else. That that one little flowing turn, right? I mean, it is kind of a cool feeling, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I think the great thing there is the elevation changes. A lot of tracks nowadays, certainly European tracks, are very flat. Mid-Ohio's, you come down the hill, you've got a fast right that goes straight into a blind crested left down the hill. Then, you back up the hill through a left, right. And that really gives you that sensation of speed and that buzz that we look for in a race car. And, from that, again, over the crest into an extremely fast right with a wall on the outside. And, these elevation changes and then walls and gravel tracks, they added to that sense of speed. Whereas, that's the one thing with tracks in the US that is so good. Many of the European tracks, and particularly Formula One tracks, they're quite sanitized, 200 meters of runoff, and you lose that sensation of speed. And Mid-Ohio hasn't. And like I say, nor many of the US tracks. As a driver, we still get the feeling that we're pushing the limits of the car, the limits of ourselves. And that's where we get the buzz. Like Tom says, when you've got no reference, and by that, the best way to explain it is when you take off in an aeroplane, the fastest you feel is on the runway, but it's probably the slowest you're going.
Yeah.
And that's because you've got a reference. And it's the same on the US racetracks. When you've got that guardrail or you've got that tire barrier that's close to the car, that's when you feel the speed. And that's when we get the adrenaline and the buzz that you're on about.
Yeah. That's like in that movie, The Aviator, with about Howard Hughes. We need clouds, man. We need clouds. Or an airplane just looks like he's floating up there. You're exactly right. Yeah, I was watching that in Miami, the Grand Prix, and I'm just going, that's a nice little racetrack, but without the elevation changes and stuff, it's just, I don't know, it's just, except for one going over an entry ramp to a freeway, it just kind of left you wanting a little bit there. Hey, I wanted to ask you guys, Oliver, this race car especially has been in development for a while now. What is different about this car from even a year ago, y'all's car?
So for me, myself and Tom, we've stepped into the car this year. The only reference we have is the chassis.
Yeah, that's right.
The chassis is very similar to what we've driven in the past in Europe in an LMP2 car. So for us, it's been a steep learning curve. And, I think the chassis, this is its 5th year, I believe.
Yeah.
Might even be.
I think you're right.
You're still finding stuff with this car. They're such good race cars, but we're always pushing them boundaries. It's not that we've got to the 5th year and you've hit a brick wall and that's as good as it's going to get. We're still developing the setup and making small changes that have a huge effect for a driver and also on lap time. So, we're continuously learning. And that's one of the great things about this sport is you can never stand still because your competition don't.
Tom, explain what Oliver's talking about there. What is it you find sometimes? Is it just a tweak of a damper or of a shock? I mean, is it a tweak of like the way the wheel, what do you cast or camber? I mean, what can you find that makes a noticeable difference? I guess and a noticeable difference can be a quarter of a second, right? But it's a big deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ultimately about. There's not one little secret. There's not, it's a package. So you need to try and find a philosophy that works for us as drivers and also that the car likes. And I think, to be honest, we've been exploring a little bit in recent races, and I think we've found a good direction. We've definitely had some good consistency in the last 2 events. So we've kind of gone down a direction that we believe as a team that we can build on and continue to, maybe extract a bit more performance from the car. So that's what we're working towards. But it's not just a roll bar. It's not just a bit of ride height. It's kind of like trying a package that works in unison together.
Yeah.
to make the most of what we believe are the strengths of this car. You know, like Ollie touched on earlier, we're never going to be able to compete with a Cadillac on a street track. Like it's just fundamentally the cars are so different that, you know, we're always going to be second best there, unless, you know, we do a fantastic job and on the race and strategy and as drivers, blah blah blah. But theoretically, they're just a better suited car for that. So there's no point trying to, you know, fix the inherent weaknesses because you detract from the strengths of the car. So we're trying to focus on using the strengths and getting the most out of the strengths when we know that regardless we're going to have, you know, some inherent problems. So that's kind of been our philosophy now, that we're just trying to make the most of the strengths of the car, and fingers crossed we're also competitive here in Mid-Ohio.
Yeah. Oliver, explain to me real quick, this is the last couple of questions. Do you guys, you two drivers, do y'all get together before you talk to the engineers, or is it meaning y'all have to have a combo, you know, like you're talking about, a combo setup that, well, it may not be a combo setup, but you know what I'm talking about. Y'all both have to have some input on the setup because you want the car to feel good in your hands, just like it does in Tom's hands. How do y'all, I guess, bridge that if it needs a compromise or a gap? How do y'all bridge that, you know, between each other? Well, you know what I mean? I mean, to come up with like a common, we want to present this to the engineer. This is what we want.
I think, you know, firstly and foremost, in sports car racing, it's about compromise. You can have two teammates that want two very different things from the car. And that certainly makes life more difficult. Fortunately, Tom and myself, so far, it's been almost identical what we want from the car.
Well, you're from the same hometown, but go ahead.
Yeah, it helps. Maybe maybe that's an English thing, but you know, we want the same thing from the race car, so we're always working in the same direction. And I think as a team and from an engineering point of view, that's a much easier thing to process and deal with, because you've got two drivers asking for the same thing, wanting the same changes, wanting the same direction. You know, maybe sometimes we'll have a little discussion and think, you know, do you think that's too much for the race? You know, should we be a little bit cautious? But again, it's a dialogue between myself, Tom, and the engineer. But when we get out the race car, I mean, we'll probably grab a quick chat with the engineer, but then we'll all head back to the truck. We sit in the office and we run through the car as a team together. You know, we'll take it in turns to discuss our feelings, because the other thing is, Tom may have driven it on new tires, I may have had it on old.
Yeah.
So it may be different comments, but it's related to the condition of the track, the condition of the tires at the time. But generally, we'll sit there, we'll give our feedback. We then give the engineer a bit of time. They like to go, you know, as much as they trust us, they like to go through the data, because they get a huge amount of information. You know, once the car's plugged in, they can see, you know, everything: speed, revs, damper traces. You know, there's a huge amount available to them. So it's not a slow process. They want to go through that, then they can run, you know, sims and get an idea of what direction to go with the setup, and then we'll meet again before the next session and just discuss changes. But it's, you know, it's a complex process, but it's a hugely important one. You know, we can only do so much on the track.
Yeah.
You know, what we do between sessions has a huge effect on the end result as well.
Yeah. It'd be horrible though. You get to Sunday morning or whatever, and you go, man, we got that wrong. Oh, go.
It happens. It happens. I tell you, you know, I've done changes in past years we've made changes overnight that aren't easy changes, you know, to change geometry changes, you know, on the Mazda. And you go out, you do 10 laps and that wasn't right, but we can't change it because, you know, we get 1 hour, 1 hour and a half sessions. That could be a 40, 50 minute change. So you're stuck with it. So you've also got to be cautious that you don't. That's why it's so good. If you arrive at a racetrack with a good base setup, you can tweak from there, you know, and that is so important to have the way your weekend runs. If you arrive and you're out the window, you're chasing your tail and you're having to make big changes that might not work. And then you end up reverting back and you've lost 2 sessions on your competition.
Yeah.
So not easy. And I mean, Tom touched upon, you know, making changes to the car, but the amazing thing is the racetracks are living organisms. You know, you race in Sebring 1 year or Laguna 1 year. Best example, Long Beach. We went to Long Beach this year with 3 seconds a lap quicker. And that's not from the car, that's from the track.
Yeah.
You know, so what you have 1 year might be optimum, but you go back the next year and you've got to make changes to adapt to the track and the conditions.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like you're a swimmer and you get in a pool and suddenly 2 weeks later you're in another pool and you're going faster. You know what I mean? But it's water.
Yes.
But
exactly.
no, it's not.
Exactly. Long Beach was like two different racetracks when I compare this year to last year. And that does happen. We've, in the past, I've been on pole in Mid-Ohio. We rock up the next year and the car's awful. Yeah. And you're scratching your heads because it's the same package. So, things certainly do change. Hard winters change racetracks.
Yeah. And most people don't understand. I mean, even a change of 10 degrees temperature one way or the other affects how a race car handles. You're always chasing your tail a little bit, right, Tom? I mean, from a setup standpoint.
Yeah, you have to, you have to keep on top of so many things because, like you said, the temperature has a huge impact. Not only on, obviously it affects the way the tires are working on the surface of the track. It affects the downforce you have.
The air density,
air density. And obviously also the engine performance. The cooler it is, generally the better the engine goes. So there's so many factors that you have to take into consideration. So it's always very difficult. And some tracks are more susceptible or change more than others. And Sebring's, for example, one of them. Like the wind also there has a huge effect on the performance of the car. So it's always it's not an easy job.
Yeah, you're driving something that kind of really wants to fly, but you just didn't sprout the big enough wings, and the wings are upside down. Yeah. Hey, last thing for each one of you guys, Oliver and then Tom, Mike Shank Racing or Meyer Shank Racing. I've known him since it was Mike Shank Racing. That's how far back I go. Has won, the Daytona. Has won the Daytona 24-hour and the Indianapolis 500. Are you kidding me? What is it that is special about this team that you've noticed that maybe sets it apart a little bit? And how much would you like to deliver that first victory at Mid-Ohio for this guy?
I mean, firstly, we would love to give the team the first win. I mean, I'm amazed with the success they've had, in GTs and sports cars even, and also IndyCar, that they've not won at their home circuit. So, you've got your big races like Daytona, Sebring, but I think for Mike in particular to win on his home circuit and the team, because the team are, all the guys live down the road, this would be a huge tick in the box for them. So, it's up to me and Tom to deliver. We're certainly going to give everything to do that. So, it's a big opportunity. We believe we've got a good package here this weekend. So hopefully we can finally end that, that drought at his home track. But you asked what's special about the team, and for me, it's a very small knit team. It's a very, very friendly, very family focused team, and everybody just gets along really well, and that helps. You come to a racetrack, and when the atmosphere is right, it allows people to perform at their best. And I think also Mike's passion shines through. So first thing I noticed, speaking to him, prior to doing the deal, was his passion and almost obsession for this sport. I don't think there's anybody out there that wants to win as much as Mike does. In fact, I think he wants to win every weekend, even when it's not possible. So, and that just filters through to everybody involved.
You agree, Tom? I mean, you walk in your shop now, and one side is y'all's side, the other side is the IndyCar side. I mean, the shop is a pride and joy for Mike and Jim, Meyer, and those guys. But there is a sense of pride with this team, right?
No, there's a massive sense of pride, and I think the fact that obviously Mike's grown this team from a small family outfit into what it is today, speaks for itself, right? So the passion and the determination and will to succeed in the sport is very noticeable. And I literally would copy and paste exactly what Ollie says. So it's very clear when you're in the team that the ambition and goal is to win, and when no one's stopping until that's achieved. So it's a young, hungry team, and obviously that fuels us as well as drivers to try and to share that enthusiasm and passion and get the most out of what we get given by them. So it's fun to be a part of, and this year's been so far has been quite good. So we just need to keep on going, right? And obviously the goal is to win the championship. And yeah, we're on a good track so far. So we just need to keep it up.
Oh, good track. That's a good little double entendre there. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oliver Jarvis, Tom, is it Blomqvist or Blomqvist? How do you pronounce it?
Blomqvist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just missing an O, right? I mean, am I right about that?
Blomqvist. It's
Yeah.
Blomqvist. I mean, in Sweden they pronounce it Blomqvist, but it's too complicated for me, mate. So
It's Tom.
Yeah.
Just much easier.
Tom.
Gotcha, man.
That's why my mum called me like a really super basic first name, you know?
Yes. There you
Just
go.
to save everyone, make it easy for everyone.
Well, my mom gave me Tim and May, which are both basic. So I appreciate
Yeah.
I appreciate my mommy and
It's a
dad.
basic.
Hey, fellas, good luck this weekend. I appreciate you talking with me.
Thank you. No worries.
Thank you
Thanks
very
so
much.
much. Appreciate it. Cheers.